Alright, so apparently we're finally getting a new scene. I've skipped through quite a bit. My god, I've skipped through a lot actually. There was the whole confronting Kawashima and the bullies. And then, Kagome snapping there. There was practicing with Zed Fields. There's the second meeting with Kobayashi. A lot's been happening, and now I think this is when the moment before we find out Kagome's restaurant's burned down. Because he's been waiting for a call. Is he waiting for a call, or is he a call? He's been calling Kagome, been getting no answer. So yeah, this is right, because this takes place after the bully event. So yeah, this is probably the moment where her restaurant's burning down. And he's panicking. Well, no, he's not panicking, because as you can see, it's too early to panic. A centipede was asked once by its enemy how it chose the sequence its legs move in as it walks. The centipede thought about it and then couldn't take a step ever again. In the end, it died of hunger. Or over introspection, maybe. Seriously, afraid of following the same path, I realized that it was just dangerous to stay home. Besides, it'd be good to eat something, and I had neither the energy nor desire to cook. I had seen the bartender only yesterday, so I decided to drop by another restaurant I visit occasionally. It was more expensive, but at the same time it was a real restaurant, not just a cafe with ramen. Sure, the prices there were high, but it was because the food was good. Having eaten my fill, I was walking slowly down the streets without any direction in mind. I stopped by a music shop, and I pointlessly stared into the windows for some time. If I were to accept Ellie's offer, I'd probably become a regular customer there. But could I even think of it after the conversation with Kobayashi Jun? Doesn't hurt to ask. So I'd enter the shop. Ed! Yo! Fucking Ed's back? That's tight. I decided to enter the shop, but ran into a young fellow in the doorway, clearly not Japanese. Sorry, he said in English. No problem. We tried to go our ways, but the door was too narrow for both of us. I let him pass, but the guy suddenly stopped and squinted. Do we know each other? I don't think so. He looked very average, and under different circumstances, I would have easily forgotten him. Except that we met in Tokyo, not say, in Berlin. Right, you were at our concert a few days ago. No, you must be mistaking me for someone. I haven't been to any concerts lately. Really? He came closer and looked at my face, which made me feel uncomfortable. Oh, I guess you're right. Sorry, then. The guy smiled wide and prepared to leave. Wait, who was playing there? He named the bands. Wow, pity I didn't know. I would have definitely dropped by. You like music? What am I talking about? We met at a music store. Well, I mostly listen. By the way, my name is Ed. He gave me his hand. Nick. So, Nick, you don't play? I mostly sell instruments here, not records. This word somehow embarrassed me and I laughed nervously. Well, I play the bass sometimes. Nothing serious, just a hobby. But I recently was asked to play in a band. Why was I telling him this? Maybe just because he was a perfect stranger who I'd never see again in my entire life. And you agreed? I'm still thinking. What's the issue then? Ed flashed a big smile and I suddenly got the feeling that we'd known each other for many years. There are reasons of a non-musical nature. I understand. I'm on tour with a band I know, so we've seen our... So I've already seen a lot. The human factor is sometimes even more important than the creative aspect. I guess. I don't have much experience with this stuff. So you got someone you know playing in that band? Yeah, something like that. Someone close? We met just recently. But you like her? What does that have to do with... And how'd you figure out it was a girl? It's written on your face. He hemmed thoughtfully. It's not about liking someone, it's more about... Of course I couldn't tell him what the problem was really about. Their producer thinks I've got no place in the band. And what do you think? Who cares? Don't you? I let out a perplexed sigh. No, he didn't know the situation, so he could only give me cliche advice. If they had another producer, would you agree? Another producer? It's impossible. I laughed, but couldn't help but think about it. Yeah? If Ellie wasn't the heir to Kobayashi Corporation. What if I imagined Zed Fields as a normal teenage band with rehearsals, not watched by unsmiling men in black suits? There was also no Catherine, Kagome, the KGB. Would I turn the offer down? If everything were so simple. What's stopping you? Wait. He raised his hand, not letting me interrupt him. Imagine yourself in 50 years. You're looking back at your life. What would you like to see? A man who spent all his time in doubt? Well, for starters, I really would like to see a man alive. But Ed didn't need to know how complicated things were. In the end, it's only about what you want. What I want. Alright, I gotta go. Just think about what I've said. He gave me another firm handshake and vanished into the crowd. For a while longer, I kept standing in the doorway, unable to bring myself to go in. Honorable customer, you're in the way. Finally, the shop assistant politely brought me back from my rumination. Sorry, I replied and finally walked through the doorway. I was walking home feeling like I'd just discovered something huge. I didn't know what had really happened to the former bass player of Zed Fields, whether he left with his parents or Kyoto or something else. I had strong doubts that Kagemata had just buried him in a forest. Why not the entire band then? Even if Kobayashi Jun wanted Ellie to stop playing rock music, killing a member of her band wasn't the way to do it. And of course, it in no way meant I couldn't just ignore his warning. But it was my life we were talking about. And life, specifically, not just my existence. I could exercise prudence and reject Ellie's offer, hide from danger, and then double down, lock myself up at home, and stay there until I'd run out of food. I was sure that the KGB and Kobayashi Corporation both would soon realize a shut-in posed no threat to them. And then what? I'd have a greater chance of avoiding trouble, but would there be anything left in my life worth living for? Especially after I basically let Catherine go and handed her over to Michael. The telephone was in the same place as always, watching me with cold indifference. I couldn't find the courage to grab the receiver. Screw it. I received a very polite and somehow businesslike greeting. It must have been their butler. Can I please talk to Ellie-san? It took a few minutes, and I imagined how he walked down the endless corridors of an old castle, going up spiral staircases, holding a candlestick with a barely burning candle. Hello? Ellie's voice came over the phone, and the illusion dissolved like a marshmallow accidentally dropped into a cup of tea. Hi, it's me. I mean, Nick. Hi, Nick. Did you make up your mind? About that. I was anxious, not only because I was calling the estate of Kobayashi Jun, the man who had been threatening me this very morning, not only because I was calling Ellie, but mostly because of what I was about to say. You know, I gave it a lot of thought. I barely had, in fact. My decision was mostly spontaneous. There was a moment when I felt like it would be the right thing to do, but there was nothing else I could possibly do but this. Well, I accept your offer. Great! Then come to the rehearsal tomorrow. It's at 12 o'clock. She wasn't surprised at all, as if that was just how things were supposed to be. Oh, alright, yeah. See you tomorrow. See ya. I hung up and exhaled. Well, what now? Maybe it'd be better to call tomorrow and refuse. Say some urgent business came up. Nah, don't be pussy. Then I had to get my house fumigated because of bed bugs. How'd that prevent you from going to rehearsal? That I'd given up on critical thinking and was about to become a Buddhist. I'd probably have spent the entire evening coming up with excuses, but my phone rang again. Hello? I replied cautiously. What if it was Ellie calling to tell me she changed her mind? Yep. Was it you calling us all day? Moments ago, I would have been glad to hear this perpetually annoyed voice. Now it sounds somewhat surreal to me, completely inappropriate for the situation. Was it so hard to pick up? I've had stuff to do apart from talking to you. I don't doubt it. You were the only person in the restaurant. We were cleaning today. She responded after a pause, and her voice sounded less confident. Although it could well be true. In any case, we need to talk. Tomorrow. Fine, let's do it tomorrow. Where and when? I'll find you myself. I've got plans tomorrow, actually. Until night. Do you want to meet at night? See you tomorrow. She replied briefly and hung up. How do you talk to someone like her? This conversation completely thrown thoughts about skipping rehearsal out of my mind. I'd go there, see what's what, and then make a decision. I doubt Ellie's grandfather would have me whacked for a single visit. But now it's time to start practicing. Yeah, I was torturing the bass until late at night, remembering the parts I'd been rehearsing with Zed Fields yesterday. In the end, the low frequencies started affecting me like hypnosis. I put the bass away, went to bed with my clothes on, covered myself with a blanket, and immediately fell asleep. Okay. Let's go. Seems like we're finally delving into like the meat of this route. Instead of just skipping over everything I've already seen. Like, for example, it doesn't look like Kagome's restaurant has burned down. She's like, oh yeah, we were cleaning. Unless it did, but this time around she doesn't trust Nikolai enough to actually, bring her things there. Which could very well be a possibility. I was dreaming about music. It happens sometimes. You sit at a piano and play a marvelous melody. I couldn't play the piano, but in my dream it was so effortless it seemed like I'd been doing it my entire life. There's only one issue with dreams like that. When you wake up, you can't recall a single note. That morning the entire world seemed somewhat surreal. Nothing particularly unusual had ever happened in my life. My parents had brought me to Japan when I was still too little. Couldn't consider my relationship with Catherine something outstanding, right? Most teenagers go through romantic turmoil of one kind or another. Every single one of them thinks their love in particular is uniquely special. But playing in a band? Especially a band like this. I could barely explain even to myself what was so unique about Zed Fields, apart from the fact that Ellie played in it. Not that I needed to. Your first band is like your first love. Showering, getting dressed, cooking, and eating breakfast, I couldn't stop thinking about the upcoming rehearsal. At least I could forget about the corporation and the KGB for today. Was I supposed to take my bass guitar, even if they had better ones? I stared at it for a while, but eventually gave up on the idea. Sorry, friend. Another time. I reached the studio by 11:30, but the door was already open. Ishida and Mitsuyoshi were inside. Hey, decided to join us after all? Yeah, if you'll have me. Why would you need our permission? It's all up to the princess. The princess? They exchanged looks and laughed idiotically. Yeah, you know, we call Elle that sometimes. I see. The pause dragged on. I decided not to bring my guitar along, is that alright? No problem. You were comfortable enough playing ours yesterday, right? Pretty much. Good then. There's steps from behind me, from behind the door, and Tokyo Rider entered the room. Fuck yeah, he did. I didn't doubt for a second that I'd meet you here this morning. We were all hoping you'd come too. I'm just in a good mood today. Or maybe we have a rehearsal. I hadn't felt comfortable and couldn't relax around these guys yesterday. It was like I'd accidentally walked into the wrong party. No one there would pay any attention to you. You could drink or try starting a conversation, but you know you don't belong. Things seemed to have changed. I could feel that I was, if not welcomed with open arms, at least not considered a stranger. I arrived around 12:30. Sorry I'm late. Hi Nick, good to see you. Ah, good to see you too. While looking at her, I suddenly felt a change in our relationship as well. We're no longer just schoolmates, but now bandmates. Would I fit in? Would I play well with the group? Did I have the skill? Time would tell, sure, but at that moment I was ready to put in every effort to stay with them for as long as possible. Alright, let's not just stand here and get playing. For starters, we played the same song as yesterday. The time spent practicing at home hadn't been vain. I was far more confident with the strings. After a few attempts, Mitsuyoshi said, "Oh, there we go." A couple times it seemed to me that Ellie was giving me a weird look while we were playing. Possibly just because of my sharpened perception and focus on the instrument. It showed me apart from another song of theirs. That one turned out to be more difficult, but more or less within my current ability. While I was sitting in the corner learning it, the others played covers of various Western hits. I know this one. I managed to join in for a couple of them. The rehearsal lasted for several hours without a break, and to be frank, I was quite tired by the end. Ellie, on the contrary, didn't even break a sweat. Finally, Tokyo Rider squeezed a siren-like sound out of the synth and exclaimed, "Lunchtime." Lunchtime it is. Ishida shrugged. Mitsuyoshi stood up from his drums and wiped the sweat off his forehead. Definitely earned the right to take a break. What do you want to eat? I've got a bento. Me too. Don't even look at me. Neck? No bento today. Me neither. Let's go find a restaurant or something. Let's go. We had to wait. Oh my god. We had what was to my taste very average ramen. I'm surprised to find that first, Ellie ate that sort of thing, and second, that she enjoyed it. You're quiet today, she said on the way back. Just focus on the music. Don't want to get kicked out after my first rehearsal. I hope it's not about my grandfather. You know, I won't lie, it's hard to pretend that nothing's happened after the head of Kobayashi Corporation calls you to his office. But you came today, didn't you? I'm gonna come tonight. I mean, she said wistfully and looked me in the eye. Yeah, I did come today. Excuse me. I didn't want to say why. Oh, I know why I came today. I mean, what? I didn't completely understand it myself. I hope Granddad won't bother you anymore. Don't worry, your granddad won't make me not come today. I mean, and if he does, make sure to tell me. Okay, I will make sure to tell you if your grandfather prevents me from coming. I will. We returned to the studio where Ishida was tuning his guitar. Mitsuyoshi was dozing off, leaning against a wall, and Tokyo Rider was flipping through the pages of a car magazine. His Of course he is. Finally, we thought you weren't coming back. You should, show some tact. Tact? Enough already. Ellie grew embarrassed. How long do you usually practice for? It depends. Sometimes all the way until evening on weekends. After an hour of non-stop play, I had the feeling I'd faint if I had to play another second. Half an hour after that, I found my second wind. And after 2 hours, I felt like I'd become one with the bass, its neck a continuation of my left hand, and there I was, not just trying to hold the right frets, but effortlessly bending and moving my fingers, the instrument obediently responding with the notes I needed. At first, I carefully followed the rhythm, trying not to be even a millisecond off, but now my right hand strummed like a well-tuned machine. Have you tried using a pick? Isha asked during one of our breaks. I have, but I feel like the sound gets artificial or something when you can't feel the strings. Honestly, same. As someone who plays a little bit of bass myself, like, it's just something so much different that it's just like, I much prefer not using a pick. There's some songs you just got no choice. It's like, it's a lot easier to do so, but like, when you're actually just plucking along with your, oh, that feeling, especially when you're playing something you know well and you just got down, and you're just going along with it, that feeling of the plucking those strings, oh, I'm about to bust. Anyway. Well, maybe. You also get more variety. Yeah, if I need it for it. No, you're doing well. He smiled. It was indeed well into the evening when we finished. I never felt that tired, even after playing football for hours. Thanks, everyone. I gotta fly. Tucker Ryder was the first to leave the studio. Nice to go. See you soon, guys. Me too. Mitsuyoshi and Ishida left together. Why is everyone in such a hurry? I remarked without second thought, but Ellie immediately blushed. They must be busy. Let's go. Hell yeah. We walked outside, where the bright streetlights contrasting against the dark of the night left me blind a moment. I'm feeling strange. A bit. Don't worry, you'll get used to it. I hope so. You know, Nick, I'm very grateful. We wouldn't be able to find anyone else to play bass in such a short time. To be honest, I was having trouble believing that. Several folded sheets of paper with my parts of songs sat in my pocket. If they were counting on me to learn them before the next rehearsal, then anyone could do it. It's fate. I grinned. Fate? Think about it. Just a week ago I saw Zed Fields play for the first time. Now I've become your bass player. Fate? She said wistfully. Do you believe in fate? No, actually. I'm more of a fan of the idea that our actions shape our future. I've never really thought about this. You're right not to. But it's better to put your efforts outwards. You're so smart. I missed a step and stared at her, unable to figure out if that was irony or not. Woe from wit. What? Yeah, it's the name of a book by a Russian writer who lived in the 19th century. I haven't read it. The conversation had clearly taken a wrong turn and was about to drop dead. But I've never had this problem when communicating with Himitsu or Catherine. Probably wouldn't have it with Kagome either. You'd be too busy arguing to find any time for silence. Why is it that when you don't know a person well, every prolonged pause creates this awkwardness? So the next rehearsal is on Wednesday? There isn't much time left. Scared already? She finally smirked and I felt better. This Ellie was much easier to talk to than the dreamily wistful one. Objectively, I have a long way to go to reach your level. You should realize that. There was a time I couldn't play either. Yeah, and then you learned in 3 days? I guess I didn't. 1 point to you. This isn't a competition. Why not? If you want to be good at something, it's always useful to have a benchmark. I have personally seen your bassist play, and I can safely say I won't get to his level anytime soon. Maybe. You're not even going to argue with me? Coming all up for Kyoto. What's the point in arguing now? It's like you... Well, I don't want to be rude, but you're not upset about it at all. He wasn't playing with us for long. We hadn't had enough time to get to know each other. Will you tell me about it? I sighed and stopped. Around half a year ago, our former bass player was invited to play in a more serious band. He apologized a lot, but in the end, you know what happens. We hung notices about looking for a new one in clubs, and Yamada showed up almost right away. That's it. Were you hoping for a more involved story? You really have bad luck with bassists. Or they have bad luck with me. Oh. She has a thing for bass players specifically, huh? Hey, fellas. Well, I clearly don't. She looked at me with surprise and blushed. Do you say that to every girl? Yes. Only the ones I like. I replied automatically. The words themselves weren't a big deal. Would have said the same to Catherine or Himitsu or even any other girl. But Ellie... There were a whole lot of reasons why I shouldn't have said that. At the very least, she was the granddaughter of someone nobody wanted to get on the bad side of, and that was exactly what I was doing. Sorry if I... Nah, it's okay. No, seriously, I didn't want to say you don't like me. I do, of course, but I didn't mean it that way. How did you mean it then? I looked around just to avoid meeting her eyes. Where are we even going? I don't know about you, but I'm going home. Just like this? On foot? I'll pick me up at the station. Ah, then I'll see you to it. The awkward conversation died by itself. I still feel like you're uncomfortable around me, Ellie said when we reached the station. I understand it's because of my grandfather, but still. Of course she was right, but I felt there was something else. If Kobayashi Jun's granddaughter wasn't so attractive, if she didn't play the guitar, if she wasn't Ellie. Come on, I'm here. We've just spent the entire day rehearsing ourselves bloody. Everything's okay. I don't think so, but I hope it will be okay in time. I have to go now. Bye. She smiled me a farewell. Will be okay. I was grumbling on my way home. Easy for her to say. She'll totally be okay. It felt like I was being hit by aftershocks. It happens sometimes that you jump headfirst into a dangerous adventure without giving it much thought. Everything goes relatively fine, and only after you do you truly realize how risky it was. Unfortunately, in my case, this was just the beginning. If Kobayashi Jun's agents were still watching the studio, and they were, there was no reason to think otherwise, they must have already reported to their master that I hadn't heeded his warning. I could only wait to see how he'd react, and hope he'd at least be a little considerate of his granddaughter's feelings. But strangely, I was less bothered by it than you'd think I would be. Kobayashi Jun's office on the 100-and-something floor seemed to be so unreachably far away, while Ellie was close and beckoning. Supposedly, a person perceives their future self the same way they perceive strangers. So when I was thinking about what might or might not happen in the future, I was practically imagining someone else. But Ellie, she was here, right next to me. We'd seen each other tomorrow at school. On the other hand, this daredevil thinking probably wouldn't do me any good. Although good and bad are relative concepts, would it be better to keep wallowing in self-pity and mooning over Catherine? No. Thinking of Catherine suddenly made my heart miss a beat, and I again felt that desire to talk to her and make something clear. I just wasn't sure what that something was. My house finally appeared from behind a corner, and I sighed with relief, like I was returning from a long journey. I wish I could just lie down, rest, and sleep. But sitting on my porch and counting the stars was Kagome. Yeah, she did promise yesterday that she'd find me herself, but again, yesterday's me found today's me a complete stranger. Been waiting long? You weren't in a hurry. If you had warned me in advance, we could have agreed on the time. You wouldn't have had to wait. No worries. I've got a day off today. Everybody does. It's Sunday. It's the busiest day for restaurants. Right, I forgot you helped the restaurant too. Kagome smirked and stood up. Now where have you been then? Does it matter? Must have been hanging out with Kobayashi. It was you who wanted me to spend more time with her. Are you going to invite me in? For some reason she was acting more confident than usual. Or rather, more brazen. After spending the whole day in Ellie's company, the contrast made me feel nothing but irritation. Well, since standing out around in the street is the only other option.